Joining me now is Craig Hallworth. He is Senior VP and Chief Financial Officer of Gunnison Copper. Good to see you again.
Hi, Mark. Great to see you today.
We did this a while ago. I guess it was pre-PDAC, so we're going to get caught up with the story. And it's quite exciting because you're now officially a junior producer. The company is cash flowing. You've been producing copper cathode since September. So how significant is that milestone for the company, and how are things progressing, coming along?
Yeah, Mark, it's a very significant milestone. And I think what it shows investors and what it shows the viewers is that we can deliver on what we said we were going to deliver. When we spoke last year at the pre-PDAC, I told you that we were in the middle of constructing the Johnson Camp mine with our partner, NuTon LLC, which is a subsidiary of Rio Tinto. And we ended up spending and investing over $150 million on that. When we started that construction, it was just barren land. It was just a raw desert. We built an 8 million square foot leach facility. We refurbished all the plants. We did that all within a year, which is like an incredibly accelerated timeline. And so what I think that tells people is that we can deliver. We delivered a producing mine in a year. And that's something that not a lot of companies can say. So I think it's a tremendous milestone that shows we can deliver.
For sure. Now, you mentioned Rio Tinto's NuTon technology. I understand that sometime soon, the company is going to be starting a circuit using the NuTon technology. And you've said that this really will kick off a new era. What do you mean by that?
It's really a fascinating technology. They recently won an award, several awards actually, for their technology. It's going to kick off a new era, just like you said, Mark. And that's because about 70% of the ore that's left in the ground in the United States today, it's sulfide copper ore. And sulfide copper ore, that's something you traditionally would have to build, $1 billion concentrator. You'd be making wet or dry tailings. You'd be shipping that product over to Asia with all the emissions, with all the water usage, et cetera, that comes out of that. NuTon does away with all of that. We can heap leach sulfide ore with this technology in exactly the same way as we did with oxide ore. And that was the revolution from the 1970s. And that was actually something that we had one of the very first plants at our Johnson Camp mine in the 1970s. So I think it's really, really fitting that we're at the forefront of this new wave of technology that's going to unlock the sulfide ore technology in the United States.
All right. Pioneers once again. Imagine that. All right. So on the financial side, the company recently raised about $13 million. Red Cloud was the lead finder there. And you said prior to that, you were getting a lot of inbound calls from investors. They're really keen to see the Gunnison project get up and running. So can you tell us more about that?
Investors are calling. They keep calling. They're buying the stock, and they're really interested in the Gunnison project. This is the key driver of value for our company. It's got scale. It's going to make 170 million pounds of copper per year. And if you take a copper price of $4, which is a lot less than the current spot price, you're talking about $700 million a year in revenue. So that gives you a sense of the scale. If you add to that our Johnson Camp mine, it makes 25 million pounds a year once it gets up to full capacity, or $100 million per year. We're talking about $800 million a year in revenue. Take a look at some of those other companies out there, those mid-tier copper producers that are making $800 million a year in revenue. Their market caps are well north of $1 billion. They're 1, 2, and 3 billion. And take a look at our market cap today, 150 million. So you can do the mental math there to kind of see the valuation gap that we stand to sort of leap forward with as we develop this project. And investors want to see us accelerating that closing of that valuation gap. And that's why they've been coming forward and saying, look, raise more money. Let us give you money. We need you to do the pre-feasibility study as soon as you can. And that's what we're going to do with this money, Mark. We're going to start the pre-feasibility study. We're going to start the permit amendments, and that's going to carry us to the next level of valuation.
Nothing wrong when people come to you and say, we want to give you money. Now, something else the company is doing is evaluating, studying its limestone, because currently it's a byproduct, but you think you can monetize that over time. And you've thrown some big numbers out there if everything goes according to plan over the life of the mine. So can you tell us more about that?
The feedback that we're getting, the thing that people love the most about this is that we're taking what's a waste product in our PEA that we released last year, and we're turning that into a valuable product that can be sold. And this is a product that's really needed in the US. You know, the US truly needs a lot more copper. There's a big deficit. We're at a 50% deficit, and it badly needs projects like the Gunnison copper project to start making that 170 million pounds a year. But on top of that, there is shortages across the board in just about every material. You know, agricultural lime, cement, animal feedstock. These are the types of products that use limestone. And when we tested this resource that we have over 200 million tons of, we found that it was 96% pure. And so at that purity level, it's considered a high purity limestone and is suitable for all of these high margin products. So I think that if we could sell up to, say, 3 million tons a year, and we're still studying this, it'll be in our updated Gunnison PEA that's due to the market in January. If we can sell 3 million tons a year, if we could realize something like $20 a ton, which is at the low end of the range we think is possible of $20 to $60 per ton in revenue, we're talking about $1 billion of additional revenue over that 18-year mine life. So that's not a small number. And I think that's something that we really owe it to the investors. We owe it to the country that we get that valuable resource, not in a big waste pile that just sits there, but into the economy, into those supply chains, and getting the value of that into the stock price.
That would be a big bonus, clearly. Now, lastly here, Craig, investors can look forward to an updated PEA, preliminary economic assessment, and a pre-feasibility study. Can you take us through that timeline and how that's going to sort of change the story and how investors perceive it?
We've been working on this updated PEA for about the past 6 months. Earlier in the year, we started what we called the high value add work program, looking at a number of opportunities that we could increase the revenue, reduce the upfront CapEx, and reduce the operating costs of the Gunnison project over the life of its mine. And these are things that we've had a lot of successes on. We press released several of them. There's several that we haven't press released yet that we're going to have in this report. And I expect that we'll be able to go to the market with all of these updated numbers in January in a brand new 43101 technical report that will show everybody how much better the Gunnison project can be with all of these improvements. I think what that's going to do, Mark, is give us a great catalyst. So investors that own the stock today or are coming into the stock today, they can look forward to that as a great catalyst that I believe will help propel us to a higher level of valuation from which we can raise the money that we need to complete the pre-feasibility study. The pre-feasibility study, the permit amendments, that is going to get this project to a much higher level of valuation compared to where we're at today, in my opinion, because when you take a look at those other projects out there, if you look at the ones that have PEA level studies, PFS level studies, some of them have permits, some of them don't. Our closest peers are trading at about a 0.75 price to net asset value today, where according to my calculations, we're currently trading at a 0.25. So for us to be able to bridge that gap, for us to come to market with those studies, get those permits amended, we could be looking at a triple in order for us to reach a comparable valuation with the peer group. So I think it's a clear case of investors should look at this and make their own decisions, but take a look at the valuation gap and all that we're doing to close that value gap as quickly as we can.
And that's not too far away. It's on the horizon. Very exciting. Good stuff, Craig.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much. Craig Hallworth. He is with Gunnison Copper.